Hello and welcome back to Android app tutorials with me, Luke. And today we're going to make the Android app that we made last time actually do something. So at the moment we have this one activity that we can see here and this other activity that's completely inaccessible. So we're going to make it happen. So back in activity main on your designer, we are going to click the change activity button. You can click it on either of these two. And then we need to actually make it do something. So if we go to view all properties and then find the on click bit, here you go. We're going to call this is our method that will go in the class. If you're not familiar with methods, then I'd recommend going and looking at a vanilla Java tutorial. But I'm assuming that you'll know what one of these is. So we're going to call it click change activity button. Not the most catchy one in the world, but let's just do that. So in the main activity folder, main activity class, this is the one that relates to the main activity, and the way that you know that is the set content view that's already been created. It says activity_main, and in your layout folder, activity_main, double click on that, and here we are. So these two are connected, and we need to make a new method in here. So public void, because it's going to return nothing, and then we are going to call it I called it click change activity button. Okay, so if I type click, it should start to tell me. No, okay, it's not going to do that today. Okay, fine. Now you need to put a parameter in here, and that is a view, and you'll see I just need to import that very quickly. Press Alt Enter. So that's what you need. We're going to use what's called an intent, and I'll go through these more in detail later on, but we're going to make a very basic intent. So if we type intent, let's import that, and then we'll just call it intent for now because it's easier, but again you can call it what you want, and then we'll create a new intent. There are two parameters for this. The first one is the instance of this class, so we'll just put this, which is the current activity that we're in, and then the second one is the class of the one we're going to go to, but you don't need an instance of that, so you can just put second activity dot class. So that's as simple as that. We're not going to put anything complicated in here. All we need to do is start activity and then intent in there. And so now when I go back into the activity, it just restarts it really simply like that. If I click change activity, then we've gone straight into the second one. So cool. So another way to show us that we're in the second activity, this is in the Java class, the second activity now, we're going to change the title. So currently you can see that it says activity test, whether we're in the first one or the second one. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the title here. So if we get the action bar and then hit set title and call it second activity, then that should display at the top. The action bar is this little bar here, and you can do lots of different things with it. You can put menus up here, you can change the title, you can put a navigation drawer, but again we can come back to that at a later date. So if I just hit restart on here, so change activity, oh, and it stopped. Oh, okay, I know what's happened. I've forgotten that in the newer versions of Android, actually, it prefers you to get the support action bar. I'm not sure why, but that's just what we need to do. So we'll call it second activity, and I shortened it this time. And let's go in here. Cool. So when I press change activity now, we'll call it second activity up here. And if I go back to the first activity, it's still called activity test. Right. So now let's get on with actually doing something. So in the activity second, we're going to make it so that when you enter text in here, it will edit it in here. So rather than using the onClick method, which in here I believe does exist, because it should exist with all views here, that will just be when we click it and we actually want to do something when the value is changed. So this is going to be different. Rather than creating a new method, we are going to create the EditText object from the designer. So we'll call this we'll just call it ET to make it easier to reference. And then rather than making a new EditText, we need to find it from the designer. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the method findViewById. Now the ID, I know it says it's an integer, but don't worry about that for now. The ID is the thing that we put in here earlier, so the updating edit text. So we'll go find view by ID, and you can just hit enter to use the IntelliSense, and then R, which is where you get everything for. So any colors you have, any drawables, which are images, which we'll come back to later, the layouts, strings, styles, anything in here is under R. So we'll go r.id, and then you'll see it in here. So updating edit text is what we want. And for some reason that's wrong. I see, okay. So by default this is a view and it doesn't actually know what it is. But if we cast it, then there you go. It forces it to become an edit text, which is fine. So that will still work. So now we're going to set the listener. So there are a bunch of listeners. So if I just type on, there you go. There are listeners for all kinds of things. And the one that we're going to use is we're going to use the on key listener. And so what this does is it will call every time you click a key when you're in there. So you need to type new, and then it should do it all for you. If you type on, then on key listener, you just hit enter, and that's everything done. So what we want to do is we want to edit this text field, which is in this bit here, which is called updating text view. So like we did with the edit text, we want to get the object, so text view, and we'll just call it TV again so it's easier to reference, and then find view by ID, r.id updating text view, and then again it's going to give us an error. I need to put a semicolon there, and we'll just cast it. So that's done. You can do it that way, or actually this time I'm going to do it a way that will just mean we can do it in one line of code. So if you copy that and then open another set of brackets, that's all on one line, and then if all of this is inside brackets, just quite simply hit dot and then set text char sequence and then hit enter. So as you can see now we can set it to whatever we want, but we want to set it to what's in the edit text. So we're going to put et.getText, and then it's going to want toString, I imagine. And currently it says et is accessed from within inner class, needs to be declared final. So we're going to do that. We're just going to type final before it, which won't make any other errors come up at all. It's completely fine. So if I type something like hello world, then that all works. Let's see if it goes into multiple lines for the sake of it. Okay, so this text field currently is edit text, doesn't go onto multiple lines, but I expected that to happen, whereas the text field itself does. So what we're going to do is, just for the sake of it, just to test it, we're going to put another type in here. So let's go down from widgets to multi-line text. Here you go. That's fine. We're going to put multi-line text in here, and we can get rid of this, I think. We'll just get rid of that for now. We'll call this something different so we don't get confused. Let's call it updating multi-line text, and then otherwise everything is fine there. We could have a hint if we want. Why not? Let's put a hint in. Hint there. Enter text. Cool. So if we go back to second activity here, if I was to try and build it now, this should throw an error, hopefully. Yeah, because it says cannot find symbol variable updating edit text, which is completely understandable. So this one is exactly the same, updating multi-line text. So all we need to do is just change that, because it's a multi-line edit text. So now we should have this activity changed again. This should set onto multiple lines. We'll just type anything random. There you go. Okay, so now it goes into multiple line on both of them. And you'll see as it keeps going down more lines, the spacing in between the two still stays the same, which is the 16 dp that we set in the first episode. Hopefully that makes sense. and now we have an app that actually works. Next time when I see you, we'll be working on alert dialogues and snack bars and toasts, which you don't know about yet, but I'll explain all of that in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in episode 3. Bye.